And welcome back to another fantastic episode of Constructing New Modern City. My name is Dr. Wasabi, and in today's upload we are doing a bit of retrospective building. Yes, that is right, we are in the bottom left corner of the map. This is where I actually first started this world in the first place. I did this fantastic highway which just stretches across the map and onto the horizon beyond, so to speak. So I really want to kind of sort this out because I don't know about you, but it looks a bit scruffy. It just ends off over here. I don't know what I was thinking about the plan. I'm thinking it was some kind of tunnel that kind of went under the mountain or something like that. So I think that's what we're going to do in general. On a side note, I think I might do some terraforming of these mountains. These are the old kind of terrain generation, so to speak. So I think we'll do some of that as well. So the first thing I actually need to do is kind of figure out what is the story behind this kind of bridge, tunnel, what have you, when it comes to the highway itself, because I was thinking that this highway was kind of like one of the first things to be built when the city was being built up, so to speak, so it would be quite old, so I wanted to kind of have a very industrial, old-timey look. So I've kind of collected a few blocks to choose from. Now I can't really actually, I might use all of these blocks. It just depends how we kind of go over this. So it's more of a concept color palette, so to speak. Aha. So the blocks I'm kind of envisioning for this highway tunnel are going to be mossy cobblestone, normal cobblestone, stone bricks, cracked stone bricks, mossy stone bricks, light grey concrete just to kind of contrast against the stone brick, and smooth stone slabs. I really want this to be kind of thematically similar to the highway itself. I might actually add some greenery on top just to give it a bit of flash and panache, so to speak. So I really want to make it look like it's old, it's been here for a while, and maybe some of the materials are kind of being scraped off by time as cars and trucks and what have you kind of pass through the tunnel onto different places. But the first thing I really need to do is I need to extend the highway a bit further into the mountain. That way I can create this kind of fake effect where the tunnel goes into... No. So what I need to do before I make the tunnel is to extend the highway through the mountain, and what that does is it's able to give me the opportunity to make sort of a fake tunnel texturing. You might have seen this in Looney Tunes. It's like a fake texture to kind of imitate the tunnel going on to different places, but it's actually going to be like a black wall. I might use black concrete just to kind of simulate that. So I want the highway to go a little bit further where I can place the tunnel ahead of it. That way I can put in the kind of a fake texture to make it seem like the tunnel is going on. So I think without further ado, I'll be right back. And we are back after that brief intermission, and as I have suggested before, I have indeed cut a hole through the mountain using the kind of highway assets we have at our disposal. So one thing I'm going to do, this is a little trick I actually did on my design world, which many of you may notice for when I do my Fallout tutorials and FNAF tutorials and all that jazz, is one thing I do is when I'm trying to create the illusion that the road goes on, what I tend to do is I layer up the road on the wall itself, and what that does, it kind of helps seal the illusion just a bit. Now if you go up close to it, obviously you'll be able to see, but it's all about looking far away, because in all fairness, I don't think many people would go down the tunnel to see where it is, but just in case, we're just gonna build this up like so, just kind of copying the road texture over here. Let's see that. And then the next step we do is we kind of triangle it up, and that creates the illusion that is going on to the horizon. So if I do this, and again to the other side, like so. Now this is a bit of a rough sketch, so to speak. But you can see already the kind of the illusion taking place, although not as good as I'd hoped. I think what I'll do is I'll kind of mix this up with some black concrete and see what I come up with. Now, would you have a look at this, folks? Honestly, it looks so much better when you actually have the black concrete to contrast against the illusion. You see, yeah, that looks really good. I'm quite enjoying this kind of illusion of the highway tunnel. So, the next thing we actually need to do is figure out where the tunnel is actually going to start. Now, for this, it's pretty easy. I just gotta kind of average out where these kind of mountains end and the kind of open air begins, so to speak. A lot of this area will be kind of flattened out or hilled, as I like to say it. So I'll kind of use TNT to excavate a lot of these mountains and kind of naturally progress them along the highway. A lot like we've done here. Now for this birch forest it was a bit easier, but it's the same concept, so to speak. So what we're going to do is, let's see here. So this mountain starts here. Let's put a little black concrete block there. And the end of that mountain goes around here. Now that's around 3 blocks out. So if I go 1, 2, and place one here, this is where the mountain should start, which is 1 block away from there. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, the next thing we need to do is actually destroy this part of the highway, because it actually doesn't make sense having greenery underneath a tunnel, because there's no sunlight, apart from like the LEDs that you need to see, but I don't think that really helps plants grow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these highways, or this highway, into 2 separate sections of road. This is a fairly common theme in Fallout 4, where you'll see the Massachusetts Turnpike is kind of separated into these 2 tunnels, which goes out into a one singular highway. So I think without further ado, let's get on with a time lapse. And we are back from that amazing time-lapse, folks. But before I show you anything else, I just want to say, if you do like what I do, if you do like my content, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Okay, let's see what we've done here. So nothing too special at the moment, folks, at the moment. So I've really kind of put in the bare bones approach to this tunnel, kind of make sure all the supports are correct in terms of kind of size and scale and all that good jazz. So what I've essentially done is I've done these kind of 3 block pillars or more walls, I should say, just to kind of figure out the generic shape of this tunnel. Now, I will do some off-camera shaping behind the scenes because there's a lot I need to do terraforming-wise around this generic area. You may see in some of the episodes that I have this wonderful area which is next to the kind of fancy house estate. I may be doing a Victorian house over there. A lot of it's unfinished. It is something that I need to go on. This specific part of the map where I just started has been, I would say, neglected for quite a while, so I will be getting on this year. So what I'm going to do now is we're actually going to shape this thing out. So the first thing we actually need to do, let me just destroy this birch tree. It's sadly been cut in half by by this wall. So what I'm going to do is add some texturing, like so. Just adding some cobblestone, because I want this to be quite an old tunnel. Maybe it was built in the 50s when that was like the thing. They made these massive infrastructure projects to go through cities and kind of help better travel and whatnot. And they made these huge kind of concrete projects where they just go on for miles and miles and miles. So I may do something like this, add a bit of a modern touch to it. Maybe they've been doing some renovations. That's kind of a theme here on the city world. It's kind of new replacing old themes and all that good jazz. So there we go, some nice little cobblestone. The next blocks we're going to use are some, let me see. So on top of our cobblestone, we're going to use some cracked stone bricks like this. Now all of this builds up to a kind of subtle texture that I want to convey through these blocks. Nothing too fancy, nothing too intense. We don't want to place too many blocks. We just want to place hints here and there, not everywhere. So now that we've kind of added some of that texture in, let me just put in some of it over here. And you can really see how the kind of illusion kind of takes place is using the shadow of the tunnel itself to kind of sell that the road's going on forever, so to speak. It's a kind of a technique that many artists use. It was a technique used in 40s animation, I believe. So the next thing we're going to do before I start clamoring on about nonsense is we're going to actually build the archway which kind of will encompass this tunnel. So I'm going to build this up like so. This is where the light grey concrete is going to come in. So if we go 1, 2, 3. So the roof will be around this block level here. I don't want to make it too low because this is a major highway. You're going to have all sorts of goods coming through. Trucks, vans, what have you. If anyone's seen my Red Rocket van tutorial, or is it a truck? Yeah, it's a refueling truck. That's quite high, so I got to kind of factor all that in to make a solid product. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, and then go 1, 2, 3 again. And I think I dare say we have a curve right here. Now this may be a bit wonky in terms of curves, but we could always kind of yeah, we could always kind of edit it and make it a bit more circular in that regard. So if I bring this down here, like so, 1, 2, 3, and then again, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do this again, just to add a bit of a curvature over here, because I want this to be quite a chunky outline for, for the tunnel, so to speak. So we're going to go that, lat, and of course lat. So how does this shape up? Very nice indeed. Let's go over here, add in some extra detail. How does that look? Okay, not bad at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of shape out the behind of this part of the tunnel, just make sure it isn't kind of sticking out or stuff like that. And I'll copy this over to the other road, put some other details on it before we just kind of polish off this part of the build. And yeah, I'll be right back after this brief intermission. And we are back after that brief intermission, folks. Now look what we've done here. I've gone with a rather traditional style of tunnel. I don't want to do the same as, let's say, the tunnels in the city where they have a bit of a metal theme to them, you know, various copper elements, quite, I would say, diesel punk, vintage, I would say. Now, although I do want to make some kind of unique decorations on this to kind of give it that kind of Fallout vibe, you know, I really want this to be a very much a stone tunnel, because, you know, they didn't have much materials back when. They had to use what was available to them at the time, which very much was the stone, various kind of rock deposits and things like that. They would excavate and put into these tunnels that over time would kind of wear away, but generally they would hold true in terms of stability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the back of here. So the plan is I'm going to have sort of a, I wouldn't say a mountain, but more of an elevated top over this bridge, just to give it a bit more context, building-wise, because I want there to be a sort of a kind of scenic overlook over the highway tunnel, just like as a kind of scenic viewpoint where people can just look over to the entire city depending on your render distance. If you've got max render distance on the best computer imaginable, I'm very much sure you can see the city from there. That isn't tested, that's just what I think might happen. But anyway, enough fooling around, folks. Let's get back onto the build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some light grey concrete pillars just to kind of tie these sections together. They're a bit disconjointed at the moment, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this design. This is these kind of more Art Deco pillars over here. How does that look? Okay, not bad, not bad. It kind of adds like a castle vibe, which is quite interesting. I think I might just lower this down a bit, just so I can add some smooth stone slabs, like so. How's that look? Okay, not bad, not bad. So we'll carry this on like so. Now, obviously, because these are different heights, I will do them in different ways. So let's just add this one here, like so. This goes up one, so we do one here. And then we can do... Ooh, 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 I just thought of something. If we leave it there, we can put these smooth stone slabs under there, and it lines up perfectly with the underside stone brick stairs, which I added just to give a bit of depth to this build, because if I didn't, it would just be a flat wall, which I really don't like. Unless you texture it really well, it's quite hard to pull off texture-wise. So that is what I did in general. So if we add these on top like so, I think we might keep this one a bit shorter than the rest, just to add a bit of diversity height-wise. How does that look? Okay, that looks good. That looks good. So we just do that here and over here, like so. Just adding it on. So I'm really looking forward to doing this mountain. I think it's going to be quite an interesting terraforming project. I won't do it now. I think it will be for another episode. Maybe some streams. I'm thinking of doing some more streams in the future. Because let's face it, sometimes people just don't have time to do stuff. It's fine. It's what's going to happen sometimes. As in, it just happens, you know. So maybe I'll do some streams terraforming a mountain over here. We'll see what happens. So now that we've done that, the next step we need to take is I think we could add some more kind of, no. So the next step we are going to take is over by these kind of banisters, I'll call them. They're not really in use, as in you're not going to look over them, but we're just going to add some decorational banisters over the top here with some cobblestone stairs just to add a bit more texture, like so. And then for this one, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that in the middle? Yes, it is. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what we can do is make some kind of final monument-wise, like so. Let's see. bring it up like here, some kind of crest. And add some smooth stone slabs. Okay, very nice, very nice. And then we just need to do the same thing but over here. So bringing these along like so. And that should be done. I think the only thing we need to do now is do a bit more texturing, add some more stone brick to the sides, just so I don't get an itch. Because usually when I have to do these kind of very solid, very kind of big kind of tunnel infrastructure builds, I do like to fill in everything just so there's no gaps, especially since we're building a mountain, or at least an elevated terrain over this part of the map. So yeah, I'm going to do that and maybe do some decorations for the tunnel underneath. So I'll be right back. Now, would you have a look at this? Now, I absolutely love the texturing, especially when it comes to these older builds. Well, I say older builds, more older themed builds. When it comes to the kind of wear and tear, these old brick structures, it gives such a sense of personality, in my opinion. Especially when it comes to things like these, like infrastructure, they're going to wear away at some point. It's more of a realistic build if they kind of show that, because you know, infrastructure is infrastructure. It'll wear away, it'll need to be replaced, and you really do see that when you look at a road or a highway or whatnot, and this is no different. So for the textures, I've used stone and polished basalt to kind of give a weathered effect to the kind of arches that kind of lead the highway into this two-road system. I've also used stone on these kind of arches and kind of banisters and what have you, but I didn't want to show that it was too weathered in a way, because it's a lot less kind of away from those arches over there. So that was the kind of reasoning behind that. I have added cobblestone around the edges of said arches. It's something that I kind of usually do because when they kind of install these things, cracks can happen over time, and that usually kind of shows up along the ley lines between different kind of parts of a building, whether that be buildings or tunnels or what have you. I kind of put that in there, and I think it looks really good. And the last kind of thing to show is that just behind the arches, I've completely shaped out the tunnel, just so it isn't like a complete square, because that's just really boring in terms of building. So I managed to fill out the entire semicircle like so. So I dare say this tunnel is officially completed. Now the top of it obviously needs to be filled over with some mountain and some terrain. I'll do that off camera or maybe in the stream, but there we go. And there we have it, the end of the episode. I just want to say thank you for watching another episode of Constructing New Walden City. This is the first episode of this year, and I can't wait to see what projects we build in this upcoming month. My name has been Dr. Wasabi. I wish you a most pleasant good evening, and of course, as always, God bless.
And now, folks, it is time to say good night. We sincerely appreciate your viewing and hope we've succeeded in providing you with an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Stay happy and come back again soon. Good night.